Hi, everybody. Welcome to our early childhood and elementary Zoom meeting. If you want to give us just a minute, I'm looking for one more person to add as a co-host. Takes just a minute for everybody to get joined in with their audio and video. So just kind of hang tight and we'll get started in just a minute. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today on our Zoom call for early childhood and elementary. Please know that this meeting is being recorded and we will make this recording available to anybody who is not able to join us today. Today on our panel, there are a few people. My name is Erica Loiacano. I'm the Director of Communications for this school district. We have on our call with us Dr. Jeff Schuler, our Superintendent, Dr. Chris Salagi, our Assistant Superintendent of Student Services, Mrs. Melissa Murphy, Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Dr. Charlie Kyle, Assistant Superintendent of Administrative Services, Bill Farley, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Rodney Mack, our Executive Director of Technology, Erica Ekstrom, Executive Director of Special Education, and then on the speakerphone here on my phone is Stephanie Farley. We had a little bit of it, who's the principal at Jefferson Early Childhood and oversees our early childhood programming. I was not able to find Stephanie to add her to the call as a panelist in time before everybody joined the meeting. So Stephanie is on the call. She's just, you can't see her on the tiles. I am going to push it over to Dr. Schuler, who's going to offer a welcome and kind of a background of information of where we've been leading up to today. Dr. Schuler is then going to walk you through a few slides of some information about scheduling that was just released today. And then we are going to open up, I'm going to walk you through what our Q&A portion is going to look like. So Dr. Schuler, do you want to go ahead and offer that introduction?
Yeah, thank you, Erica, and thank you to everybody for joining us tonight. Obviously, we've got a full house here in the virtual space, and so thank you for spending a little bit of time this evening. It is our hope that as much as possible, we can continue tonight to help answer questions that you have about some very important decisions that are in front of us. And I do want to start by just offering, I think, a couple of observations in terms of where we've been and how we've navigated through the summer. So as we made the pivot last school year in March to remote learning, to e-learning, it was a brand new experience, both for our school district and candidly for school districts around the state and the country. And so I do thank you as a community, as parents, for partnering with us in that journey. It by no means was perfect, but I do know that people did the very best that they could to redefine a school system in a very short period of time. That had spent a lot of time in development. And so as we navigated to the end of the school year and into the summer, we've attempted to build plans for this year under guidance that's changed pretty regularly, guidance that's been clarified, re-clarified, I think expectations from a number of different agencies, and we've done our very best to build a plan that first and foremost protects the safety of our staff and our students, prioritizes in-person instruction as much as we possibly can, especially at the elementary level. But three, I think a plan that has the ability to change and evolve through the school year as candidly conditions change. So as I shared with the board the other night when we presented our plans for the first time, that was our plan as of the time that we made that presentation. I'm confident that however we start the school year, there is a chance that conditions may change. And so even when we start the school year with opportunities for in-person instruction, we know and recognize that that could change, and that could change very quickly. And so as we've built plans or models, we've done it with an idea of being able to evolve as conditions evolve. If things improve and we can bring more students back in on a regular basis, we want to be able to quickly evolve to that. And conversely, if health conditions would suggest that in-person instruction is no longer a viable option, we want to be able to easily transition to remote instruction. And so again, those really became the guiding principles. We know and we understand, again, that this is not perfect. What we are asking you as parents to do is to make a decision where there may not be a perfect option for you. I know that, I recognize that. We have gotten lots and lots of feedback over the last couple of weeks, over the last month. And it's very clear out of that feedback that there are a lot of different interests in terms of exactly what this school experience or school option is going to look like. And so I just say at the onset that I know we cannot design the individualized experience that every family or every parent may want, but we've done our very best to create a couple of options. And we know we commit that we're going to continue to make adjustments to allow our plans to continue to evolve based on feedback, based on what's happening. We're going to do our very best. So tonight we're going to run you through a couple of recent updates that we've made to our plans and our schedules, and then try to quickly move into questions so that we can answer as many as we possibly can. So Erica, I'll kick it back to you unless you want to project and move right into our updates. So little bit earlier today, I think in front of this meeting, we did share an update for the community. Number one, all of the questions that we've received, we've tried our very best to continue to answer those questions both individually and collectively, and post those on our FAQ But what we're going to share with you tonight are just a few more updates around both our in-person and our remote or our virtual school option our virtual academy option that we want to move forward. So going to go through just quickly by level and provide a few of those updates for you. So at the early childhood level, our early childhood center has always operated on a 4-day-a-week schedule: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Adjustment that we've made for next year is that the early childhood schedule will operate on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday schedule with a morning and an afternoon session as we've always had. The shift, as you'll see with the elementary schedule in the early childhood, was to bring it in line with the day out of the week where we are doing a deeper clean in all of our buildings when we've got less kids in. So early childhood would operate Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday with the afternoon or with the 2 sessions that are scheduled on here. At the elementary building, we will operate 5 days a week for elementary in person, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. That school day will be 9:30 to 3:30. It's a slight adjustment in the day based on some adjustments we've had to make in lunch schedules and supervision of lunch. On Wednesday, we're going to run a half day for our in-person option of 9:30 to 12:30. That'll allow us to rotate our half-day kindergarten sections by week to provide a similar experience. And I do want to note as we move into that, our reasoning for making an adjustment in our day is to make sure that we can address both teacher needs, teacher schedules, and also make sure that we have a day in the week where we're providing kids with a little bit of a break and having an opportunity to go in and do some deep cleaning within our buildings. And so after 12:30 on Wednesdays, when we run that shortened day, we'll have that opportunity. We are going to run before and after school care through our BASS program all days of the week, and that will have an extended window on Wednesdays, understanding that that half day on Wednesday is going to create some childcare needs or concerns. We're going to do our best to address that through our BASS program. At the middle and high school, we know that this call is focused really more on early childhood and elementary, but I want to give you an update on what that middle and high school experience is going to look like as well. We're running a hybrid schedule at the high school where we'll have 2 cohorts of students split by alphabet on the 2 sides of town. Our cohort A group will have in-person learning on Mondays and Thursdays. Our cohort B group will have in-person on Tuesday and Friday. And then on Wednesday, we're going to run a full e-learning schedule that will follow actually a synchronous learning schedule. That's going to give us an opportunity to do 2 things. One, to meet with an entire section of students that are otherwise split across the week on that Wednesday, and to have that opportunity to put some enhanced cleaning schedules in place across the buildings. Erica, if you can move forward. So again, that schedule, I'm sorry, go back 1 slide, Erica. We went one too many. That schedule middle and high schools will be, or the middle school will be 8 to 3 is that school day. High school 7:20 to 2:15. That is the typical schedule. And then obviously a little bit more information during e-learning. Students will work independently on class discussions, assignments, projects, as well as attend to some recorded asynchronous instruction that will be put in place. And again, as I mentioned, on Wednesdays, both groups will participate in a live synchronous learning experience and have an opportunity to engage in work with their classes. We are at the middle and high school level. We do have some of our special education programs that will be prioritized to 4-day a week of in-person, but we'll operate with that e-learning schedule on Wednesday. In terms of the virtual academy, I actually do think at this point, Melissa, can you unmute yourself? And I'm going to have you just walk through these Virtual Academy slides since this is really kind of falling under your domain.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Schuler. So here you'll see some information about our early childhood virtual academy. So it is a 2.5-hour day. It would have a dedicated teacher for each group of students. Teachers will provide a weekly schedule for families that'll indicate some live teaching times and independent work times, and those will be provided through a choice board. We will prioritize live instruction for literacy, math, and social emotional learning. And choice boards, or what we also call asynchronous learning in this space, would be in literacy, math, social emotional learning, science, the arts, fine and gross motor, and language development. We would have whole class, small group, and one-on-one learning opportunities, and the related services would be provided virtually. In terms of progress reports and attendance, the progress reports will align to the early learning developmental standards, and daily attendance would be in place. Next slide, thank you. So in terms of our elementary virtual academy, you'll see some outlined information here with regards to instruction. So there would be 5 clock hours daily with a dedicated teacher for each group of students. The only difference there is for half-day kindergarten, that would be 2.5 hours daily, again with a dedicated teacher for a group of students. We are committed to our core academic subjects in language arts, reading, math, science, social studies, PE, art, music, and our special education and EL services would be provided in the virtual academy. We would prioritize the live instruction for language arts, reading, and math daily, and there would be live instruction for other subjects, but that would be throughout the week. It should be noted too, we have increased the number of digital resources at our elementary level for reading and math, and we have digital resources for science and social studies. Again, whole group instruction, small group instruction, one-on-one opportunities. And once our teachers have assigned classes and students, they would work with families and communicate what that weekly schedule would look like with specific times for live teaching and independent work times. In terms of grading and attendance, the grades will be aligned to our current practices. Our teachers will be using their own assessments and our district assessments, and we will be taking attendance daily. I'm going to walk through the middle school piece a little bit quicker since this call is dedicated to early childhood and elementary. But you can see an outline of middle school here. There's a lot of similarities with the elementary virtual academy. One major difference would be that we are hoping to have a team of teachers at the middle school level working with a group of students, but it's possible due to enrollment, we may need to offer some online courses that would be offered through a course provider, and this would be mostly self-directed or asynchronous work. Again, our students would follow a standard schedule that would be provided to families. And there are some differences from the spring where there would be daily attendance, grading aligned to our current grading practices. It should be noted, our students in the virtual academy will have the opportunity to be a part of extracurriculars that are going to be offered. In terms of our high school, there's really 2 directions that the virtual academy could take. And it all will be programmed around the number of students that are enrolled in each course. So option 1 would be an online course provider. And in this case, there would be a lot of opportunities for flexibility and self-direction from our students. For our students, it would be supervised by a District 200 teacher. And we are spending a significant amount of time looking for the best programs and curriculum that is out there. It is being researched and vetted by our teaching staff. The other option that we have is with our District 200 teachers. In this case, our students would follow a regular daily schedule. There would be opportunities for live instruction and independent work. This will be where our EL and special education services will lie. And then there's commonalities to both paths we take in terms of grading and attendance. The 5 hours daily, students can participate in the extracurriculars that will be offered. There will be AP courses offered, And course enrollment and schedules will be determined by what the students were registered for, their graduation requirements, or similar course alternatives.
Okay, I'm going to move over to another document. Am I still sharing? Getting used to this. Okay. So at this link, and I'll put it in the chat bar in just a minute, cusd200.org/reopening plans, you will find all of the information that we are covering tonight, as well as our current plans as of late. I will, following our Zoom meetings, I'll get those on YouTube, and we'll put those links to those videos on this section of our website as well. And now we're going to move over into the Q&A portion, and I'm just going to walk through what that is going to look like. So this meeting will be 1 hour long. We cannot go past 7 o'clock because we have our middle and high school meeting following this. Due to the size of the group, all participants will remain muted other than the hosts. If you have a question, please put it in the chat bar and include the name of your school. For example, my children attend Wiesbrook, so I would put my name and then Wiesbrook. That really is what that will allow us to do, is if we don't get to your question, it will allow us to perhaps have your principal either follow up with you, or if especially if it's a building specific question. Messages can only be sent to hosts, but please make sure you send your chat to me so that the question will be, we will make sure to answer it. Questions will be asked in the order we received. If we feel that a question has already been answered, we will move to the next question. If we determine that your question is building specific, we will notate it and pass it along to your principal. If time did not allow for your questions to be answered, please email those to communications@cusd200.org. And we will also have a transcript of the chat bar, so that if any of the questions got missed, we'll make sure to be able to note them there. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the chat bar and just start going through questions, and I will pass them along to those hosts who the question applies to. Chris, I'm going to give this first question to you, Dr. Szilagyi. I think it's probably more, well, it obviously is an elementary question because we're on the elementary call. Oh, here it goes. Could we pull our students out for lunch each day?
Yeah, I think, just like in a typical school year, as a parent, you have the opportunity to take your child out of school anytime that you sign them out of school. So certainly the parent has the choice to do that.
Mrs. Murphy, what will half-day kindergarten children do on Wednesdays? Would AM come one Wednesday and PM come the following Wednesday? And when they are not in school, what will they be doing?
I will take the when they are not in school, since it would be the half day of kindergarten. Is the question about half day kindergarten, Mrs.
Yes.
Iacono? Since it is a half day of kindergarten, when they would attend on Wednesday, their instructional day would be covered on those Wednesdays. In terms of the schedule, Dr. Szilagyi, you have specifics on that, correct?
Yeah, for the days that the students would not be attending, right? Just like with any of our other pieces, we're working through some e-learning opportunities or some of those pieces that would be asynchronous as well. But it would be a rotating schedule every Wednesday for our half-day kindergartners on that Wednesday from 9:30 to noon.
Thank you. Melissa, I believe this next one is for you. How is attendance taken? With working from home and attempting virtual academy, is it an option to watch videos from teachers, or is it live only where they must log in at certain times?
Right, there will be a combination of live times and also asynchronous times with recorded videos. In terms of attendance, it would work the same way that the regular school year works, where parents would call in if a student needs to be absent.
Thank you. There's a question on here. I'm considering switching my child either from ADK or half day. Do you recommend I contact her school directly? Yes, please contact your school with those requests to move from ADK or to the half day program. Mr. Mack, this might be for you and Mrs. Murphy. The FAQ states that students in grades 1 through 12 will be assigned devices. What are options for kindergarten students with the virtual academy? In addition, kindergarten is excluded when discussing special core classes. Was that an oversight?
Yeah, we do have devices for kindergartners. We're not heavy users of Chromebooks in the beginning, so I think it's more of a process and the training part in the beginning, which is maybe why it was an oversight. But we will have devices for every student K through 12 in the district to start the fall.
And if a student elects to do the virtual academy, they will be assigned a device to use at home.
Correct.
Dr. Szilagyi, when can we sign up for BASP?
We haven't released that date yet, but we will be putting out information about electing to sign up for BASP. It will look a little bit different this year as we've been working with our BASP directors because we've got some space constraints. We are going to have some capacity limits. So look for that in the near future, but we'll make sure everybody's informed of the sign up date here. I would say within the next week or so, we'll be putting out information, but it will have some space constraints depending on the size of the program and where we're operating at this point.
Chris, you can stay unmuted. Can you please talk about what lunch and recess will look like for in-person elementary students?
Yeah, it's a great question. So lunch right now will be a combination of common spaces within the building and in the classroom. So we are looking at all spaces, obviously, for our students to eat, and we're going to limit movement as much as we can as kids get lunches. So I'm doing our best to bring if they are bringing or buying their lunch, to bring that lunch as close to the classroom or to the common area where they'll be eating. It will be 30 minutes. And then as far as recess, we have a team that's working on that. We know that we want to be outside as much as possible. And we know that when our students have physical distancing in place, they can get the masks off. So it's a great opportunity for that. But as far as some of the details and activities, we're working through that right now. We want it to be an engaging experience, but we recognize that poses a challenge too when you have some of the requirements that are in place. So we haven't finalized the details on what recess will be, but what I can tell you is it's going to be in smaller groups, either within a classroom or two. Students are going to have to be physically distanced, but we are looking to take some of the opportunities where we give kids mask breaks outside during the school day. We're looking to use those as an opportunity to teach kids some things that they can do actually at recess that helps them to connect while they're still distance away. So we recognize that this is a challenge, but we think that there's still an opportunity there as well. But we do not have all the details finalized on recess. It will still be 30 minutes though, standard 30-minute recess. And certainly our classroom teachers will have multiple opportunities beyond that 30 minutes to get kids outside.
Chris, Melissa, I might let you tag team this one. I would like to homeschool this year. My children are in the PACE program. Do we have the option to continue the PACE program only in the e-learning format?
Yes. You just need to notify, work with your building. So even if you're set up for homeschool, you still are you're partially enrolled there. So the answer to that question is yes.
And we're still working on details of exactly what PACE will look like in the virtual academy.
Okay, this next question is, what is the current plan for student safety and sanitation during busing? And I will preface this by saying, we are if you hear a lot of background noise at the district office, We are having some construction going on. We did have a pipe burst. And so I'm in the district office, and because we have limited offices available here, Mr. Farley, our Assistant Superintendent for Business Services, is in the boardroom with me. We are distanced, and he's wearing his mask when not talking. So what is the current plan for student safety and sanitation during busing?
Buses will be cleaned between the morning routes and the midday routes, and then again at the end of the day by the bus company. We are looking at possibly expanding that option as well.
Thank you.
Erica, I think you might have to repeat that. That was very difficult to hear.
I'm sorry. That they will be sanitized.
Midday and at the end of the day, and then
Buses will be sanitized midday and at the end of the day. Chris and Melissa, how are you handling PACE specifically in school and e-learning?
Pace in school, we are the in-person instructional process. We are working to make that be as typical of a process as it can be, obviously with the distancing requirements and pieces in place. But students right now would go to their PACE classroom. Obviously, we want to make that an efficient transition, but they would go to the PACE room for their math. We are hoping to be able to utilize the full math block. Right now, it's a 60-minute block. We're finalizing what those actual instructional minutes would look like, but from an actual student movement standpoint and stuff, we would have it within the PACE classroom. As far as reading, that's been a flexible model. So it's been more of an enrichment type piece where the PACE teacher may be responsible for a guided reading group or some of those pieces where they're either pushing into a classroom or within their room. So from an in-person instruction, some of those pieces will look the same, but obviously we'll have our restrictions and our safety protocols in place. But there may be some differences in some of the time pieces as we look at transitions. Not significant, but as we know, the in-person experience is going to look a little bit different, but we're going to work to give as much of it as we can.
And I'll add on to that too, from an instructional standpoint, we know that our students in the PACE program, specifically in the area of math, are working a grade level ahead in academic standards. And that's important that we continue to focus on the standards that they need for their instructional programming.
Thank you. Chris, do you have any visibility into class size for in-person?
Yeah, the first piece, we've been into all of our schools' classrooms with our principals, and the first piece is really you have to look at the space of the classroom. We have class size or class spaces that range from 600 square feet to 1,200 square feet. So as we look at those pieces, I would say a fair range is going to probably range anywhere from 16, 17 to 22, but we do have some class sizes that can capacitate a little bit more than that. But for the most part, that's where I would see the ranges falling. But it is a bit building specific, dependent upon the size of the classroom. The piece that we always look at is, can we physically distance the seats, and can we give our teachers space as well where they're distanced as well. So we've measured a lot of different classroom configurations. One of the pieces that will make the classroom look different this year is that it's classroom seats and desks, and it's a teacher desk, and we're removing some of those other pieces. At times, though, there is a place for another table or some of those pieces. But class size roughly in the range of 17 to 22. But some of our other we do have some rooms that can capacitate more than that as well.
Next question is, what cleaning supplies will be used to sanitize the school daily, as well as on deep cleaning days? And so Mr. Farley has just shared that we will be using an EPA-approved cleaning solution that is specifically designed for schools and for elimination of viruses. Chris, I don't know if we have specific details around this yet, but how will dismissal work?
Yeah, obviously 13 different buildings, you have the unique building niche of the dismissal piece. But in general, the piece that we really want to make sure of is that our kids have their face coverings on, and that we are dismissing them to the point that they need to get moving out of the building and home. So for a bus dismissal, we want to get kids out of the classroom when their bus is there and have them going on a direct route to the bus so that the bus can get moving, right? We want to limit that time as they're transitioning. For our walkers, we want to dismiss them to their exit points and get them moving off our school grounds. For our car walkers, same piece. So you might have a bit of a staggered dismissal in the case if a bus maybe is running a few minutes after 3:30. We're not going to call that classroom to be dismissed until that bus arrives, so that we can ensure we're getting the kids out of the building, that they're not clustering in large groups, and we can get them to the place that they need to be so that they can get home.
Thank you. Melissa, this is probably for you. Will the school supply list change, or will supplies be used in a way that the children will, and then it jumped and then the question kind of dropped off. So will the supply list change?
That's actually something that we're still working through at this present time. And when we have more specific answers on that, we will be sure to post it. But we have to be cognizant that our students cannot share supplies in the current environment that we're in.
Melissa, this one's for you too. If a student is doing virtual academy, will they be assigned a teacher at their home school?
This is a really great question. Since the Virtual Academy is a district-wide program and we will be matching staff that have expressed interest or need to work in the Virtual Academy, we can't promise that it would be any staff from the student's home school, but it will be District 200 staff at our elementary program and early childhood program.
How and when will deep cleaning for BASP take place? I just asked Mr. Farley. That will take place after the morning session and then again after the afternoon session, and will be cleaned in the same way that all of our other classrooms are cleaned. Chris, I'm going to put this one to you. Why doesn't elementary have cohorts similar to middle school and high school?
So I'm assuming cohorts being just a group of students. The benefit of elementary is that the kids already are in a classroom cohort. That cohort piece allows us to bring, at this time, based upon the guidance, allows us to manage a cohort of students because the limited movement that they have throughout the day. So at the middle and high school level, you have students moving 8-9 different places. So I don't know if that's getting at the essence of the question, but being within a classroom already puts them really in a classroom cohort where they're together for the majority of the day. If there's further clarification on that, I'm happy to take it.
Dr. Schuler, has any thought been given to pushing the start date of school back possibly to even beyond Labor Day?
Yes, we've had that conversation. I think realistically, part of that answer is going to be we've got a giant puzzle that we're figuring out as students get registered and we try to get these details in place. But we do have a calendar committee that is exploring that option. We haven't necessarily explored an option all the way beyond Labor Day, but we have had a conversation very recently about the fact that we may need to push back the start to allow us a little bit of additional time to make sure that all of the details are finalized. We want to make sure, as I said at the onset, that what we do, we want to do in the safest manner possible. And so again, as we work with our buildings now to finalize these details, we are looking at the very real possibility that we may have to evaluate our start date. We would still have the same number of school days, even if we do have to push back a little bit.
Thank you. Mrs. Murphy, I'm going to give this one to you. If I enroll my child in the virtual academy, And then after the first trimester, we decide to go back to in-person. Will there be a spot for them at their home school?
We've gotten this question a lot. Due to our very careful planning for the classroom spaces and staffing, we can't guarantee there would be a space at each elementary home school for our students that would want to return from virtual academy to in-person. We would certainly hope to prioritize that, but we cannot guarantee it.
Hey, Erica, one thing I want to mention onto that as well is that as we try to answer some of these questions, we're projecting forward to what we anticipate the conditions might be like at that point in time. So the other reality as we look to the middle of the school year, the end of the first trimester is how that question will be able to be answered at that time will be somewhat dependent on the condition of both the virus and any of the guidance that we have. So, you know, assuming that we will have to maintain the very firm class size caps and targets that we've talked about, we just don't have the ability to push beyond that number. So we don't have the ability to say, gee, we're gonna just squeeze 2 more students into, you know, to this classroom. So we can try to project what that answer is going to be, but the very real answer is, to be honest, what is in play at that time at the end of the first trimester will determine what kind of flexibility that we have around that.
Melissa, how many students will be assigned to one e-learning teacher? I'm assuming that means virtual academy. How many students will be assigned to one virtual academy teacher?
We're still working out these details.
From their home school, sorry.
We're still working out the number of students that would be assigned to each virtual academy teacher, but we are hoping that that can be within the normal ranges that our classrooms have been at in the past.
Give me just 1 second. I want to ask Mr. Farley a question. There was a question, if you do all-day kindergarten in the virtual academy, do you still have the all-day fees? Those are still kind of, fee schedules are still things that we're working through, which is partially why in anticipation of that, we will not begin fee collection until September 1st. So a lot of the details around fee collection are still to come. Melissa, there's a question about professional learning. What training will the teachers undergo for e-learning and virtual academy?
Great question. So we actually have a team that has been working on this all summer. And so we have pulled our teachers together that have expertise in this area to put planning together for the first days of school. And so our teachers are going to, at the elementary level, our teachers are going to receive very specific training around the digital programs that we have purchased for the virtual academy and for our classrooms. They're also going to be receiving training based on the work that our ELA and math committees, our teacher groups have been doing this summer around specific planning in those areas. And then at our middle school and high school, those teacher teams have been preparing for our hybrid blended learning model and are preparing professional learning for our teachers as well.
Melissa, this one's for you too. Is there any flexibility in the length of time elementary students will be required to participate in e-learning? 5 hours seems a little long.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand. That is an ISB requirement. The Illinois State Board of Education does require that we have 5 clock hours daily of learning activities for students.
There's a question about ventilation and air circulation and what is being done during the day to filter the air that is recirculated into the buildings during the day. We are going to start our systems a couple of weeks earlier than we normally do this year to get airflow moving. We are changing out all of our filters. There is filtered air coming into every single classroom and building. we are increasing the amount of outdoor airflow that's coming into our buildings as well. Dr. Schuler, did I miss anything on that?
No, I don't think so. I think the idea is one to make sure we have good filtration systems on that, but we maximize as much as possible outside air. There's a fine balance of that in school buildings because based on the conditions outside, that can be a little bit challenging as you work with that. But the last piece that I would mention, when possible in exterior classrooms, being able to open windows to allow for outside air is going to continue to help with that as well.
Rodney, what are the requirements to receive a hotspot device, or how can families obtain one if they need it?
The first thing we send out information on the registration information that we're still waiting for a lot of families to fill out. So we're encouraging everybody to do that. It's getting us a very accurate list of people who do need internet at home. We'll obtain hotspots that are needed and work with the families that are requesting devices at that time. So again, if you haven't gone through the registration process on Synergy Parent View, please do so. There's 3 important questions we're asking. One of them is if you need internet or if you have limited internet access at home, fill that out. And that's where we're starting to gather those names.
Melissa, is there, for the virtual academy, can you just kind of talk through what a typical day might look like?
Yes, I'm happy to. The day would look like it would start with a morning meeting where the teacher would have all students in that classroom on together at the same time, and they would walk through what the learning activities for the day would look like and set the stage for the day. And then there would be blocks of time for each subject area, and there would be time for indicated for the synchronous learning, which is that live Zoom calls, and then there would be assignments that would be provided as well for the subject areas that would be independent work areas. So throughout the day, there would be dedicated time for the core subject areas, but we also recognize that students can't be sitting in front of a device straight throughout the whole day. So there would be very targeted times for breaks and lunch as well.
Thank you.
Oh, Ms. Lenacno, may I add one more thing on to that? We also recognize in our virtual academy that our families and caregivers are going to need some support as well. So our teachers are going to have office hours daily to connect with families that need support too.
Dr. Schuler, I'm going to pass this question to you. For students who maybe don't want to wear a mask or refusing to wear a mask, how will the schools handle that type of situation?
Yeah, so simply by choice, that's not going to be an option. That is a requirement inside of our schools, and that's a requirement that we're gonna uphold. We do know that we're going to have some situations where we have to work with individual families and students that may have a genuine medical condition that we need to problem solve around. And so we do have a process that we'll work through, and there are other PPE options that may be available in individual circumstances. But to the core question, if a student refuses to wear a mask, we've got the Virtual Academy program.
Thank you. And similar to that, I know I've gotten this question a lot via email. Will families and students traveling to hot zones be required to quarantine before returning to the classroom?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we'll continue to work very closely with the DuPage County Health Department around that. They are the entity that would establish any direction on if families need to quarantine upon return from travel. It's very similar to what took place before we moved into e-learning back in March, where there were some restrictions that were put in place at the time post international travel. So we'll work with the health department around that and certainly follow their guidance if there are travel restrictions that we need to uphold or collaborate with our families to uphold.
Dr. Schuler, you said at the beginning of the call how we have a core reopening team, and then there are multiple other subcommittees, sub-teams working on developing out various plans. You've been leading that core reopening team. One of the questions is, have the teachers been a part of the in-person teaching planning?
They have, and actually, some of the other administrators that are on the call can certainly share the number of teachers that have been engaged on not only the core team, but the various sub teams that are working on this. We know that our teachers have to have a stake and have to be involved in this. So while we asked early on in the process about parent comfort with return to in-person instruction, we have also asked recently our teachers about their comfort level, because we know we have some teachers that are not going to be in a position to return to in-person instruction, and we want to make sure that their concerns are absolutely reflected in our planning. So we have had probably north of 100 teachers that have been engaged in the various subcommittees working together on these plans. And by design, we've had to try to get all of this work done. So we could not have simply had one small team try to design all of these procedures and processes. We've really had to flatten that structure and engage an awful lot of teachers and helping us to work through this. I'm not going to say every staff member in District 200 has personally been engaged in the process, but we have had a lot of teachers helping us to work through this for sure.
Thank you. This next question, Chris, I'm going to start it off, but I'm going to let you take over as it's kind of lives in social emotional world and school connectedness. Will my child be able to meet his teacher and see his classroom virtually or in person before the school year starts? We definitely know that because we probably will not be able to have curriculum nights, back to school events, social events in our schools where we really start laying the foundational work of those relationships that we have with our students. We have started talking with the schools about how we can possibly create like a virtual tour of the school, not only to get students connected with adults at the school, but also so that you as parents, you're, I'm sure, going to be just like I am too, as a parent in the district, very curious about what the inside of a school looks like. What does the hallway look like? What is, how does a classroom look like that's spaced out? And so we are going to work to provide some virtual tour opportunities so that you can get that inside look into the school. But Chris, I'll turn it over to you to talk about relationships and connectedness.
Yeah, the first piece is though, getting kids comfortable, right? And so I think that the first thing we got to recognize is that there's an art to this that I think our teachers in District 200 have mastered, right? That's why we have some of the best teachers, I think, in the country, because they work to connect with kids. So I have no doubt that for our kids that are in person, that our teachers are going to build a classroom community and connect with them, take an interest in them. And that group may be closer than ever this year for the in-person experience. So I just think from a natural piece, that's going to happen. Now, I can tell you from a structural piece, one of the pieces that we focus really hard on is relationship mapping and ensuring that every kid has a trusted adult in their schools. That work's going to continue. We're gonna map out and really find out, do our kids have a trusted adult at different points in the year? And if they don't, we're going to work to find them that connected relationship and work to make it authentic. So I hope that gets to the root of the relationship piece as well.
Thank you. This next one is for Mrs. Farley. Stephanie, are you on the phone still? Stephanie, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. When will we get to choose which program, AM or PM, our pre-Ks will be attending? And the person also adds, go Jets.
So we're really excited for our new school building to be open. We are actually looking at the registration information with parents who are deciding whether they want the virtual academy versus the in-face. And then after that, we'll be looking at the number of students. If there's someone who has a medical need or reason to be in a certain section, we would definitely look at those first as we're creating our class list.
Thank you. Give me just 1 minute. I'm going to mute. Okay. The question, will we be deep cleaning over each weekend? We are going to do a deep clean each day with that extra attention on Wednesdays and the weekend. Chris, there's a question about physical distancing. What is the school planning to do to physically distance students in their respective classroom? Will the numbers in each class be reduced from the normal? That part we know already got answered, but can you talk a little bit about what physical distancing in the classroom looks like?
Yeah, so certainly all the seats will be physically distanced. The majority of seats will be 6 feet apart. As we work though to look at the classroom capacities, we would say the majority of seats are 6 feet apart, but there are instances where some seats are 4 to 5 feet apart as well. In those instances, I would say that is usually only within 1 to 2 students that are 4 to 5 feet apart, with the majority of all of our seats being 6 feet. And for our staff also, they have a minimum of being 6 feet apart as well. So they have an instructional space as well. And really that comes down to measuring seat to seat within the room to ensure that distancing is taking place.
Thank you. And I will tell you, we are very fortunate that we have such an engaged parent community. I have 520 questions that I have not gotten to yet. So please know, this is the end of our Zoom call. Please know that we, as a entire District 200 staff, we are getting your questions and we are working as hard as we can to quickly answer those with the information that we have available and with the current where we are in the planning process. So I apologize if we did not get to all your questions today. I have skipped over a number of them that were very similar, but we are going to make this recording available, and we will continue to send out regular updates to our community as more information becomes available. We want to make sure that we can be as quite possibly as transparent as we can with families while also sharing information out as soon as we are able. So I don't know if Dr. Schuler, if there's anything else that you want to add to close us out.
No, I don't, Eric, I think you said it well, other than to say, please continue to partner with us on this. I started at the onset by saying we've had a lot of different ideas or thoughts around exactly what the school experience can or should look like. And we are doing our very best to design two opportunities for our community, both in person and a virtual option that will do our very, very best. We cannot, unfortunately, design 13,000 individual school experiences for each of our families. And so we've got to put a couple of those opportunities into consistent frameworks. We're trying to do that. We're continuing to evolve these plans. So please be patient with us as things may continue to change. I'm confident that as we move toward the start of the year, we may not be done with some of the adjustments that are made, even in guidance that we're going to follow. But as Erica shared, we'll do our very best to be as open and transparent with you around the information that we have and try to answer all your questions. So thank you for your patience and flexibility with that.
Thank you. And just a quick note to all of my hosts, as soon as we end this meeting, please go ahead and jump on that other link so I can get you added as hosts before everybody else gets in. Thank you all so much. Have a great night.